What's up all you beautiful bytes out there? My name is Stix and today I want to do something a little different to normal. Today I want to go over some free-to-play MMORPGs that I've personally enjoyed in the past that nobody really plays anymore. They're MMORPGs that I feel were really fun to play through but are either dead or at fear of currently dying. This of course doesn't mean that the MMORPGs in question are bad, quite the opposite. In one way or another, these MMORPGs are actually really good. They just died for some reason. Maybe pay-to-win issues, maybe poor optimization, maybe the grind was too much. Who knows? If any of the MMORPGs in this list interest you, go ahead and download them. Quick question. Do you currently play an MMORPG that you think should be more popular than it is? An MMORPG that's dying or you fear may die in the future? Let me know down in the comments below. Do note though that these aren't the best MMORPGs. I do have a separate video for that. They are just some of the best free-to-play MMORPGs that nobody really cares about anymore. Also, a quick FYI, if you're interested in seeing what any of these MMORPGs actually look like, we do have gameplay videos up for most of them, so go check them out. So, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the list. Now, this game shut down in 2012, but recently popped back up, which is where we had the opportunity to play. In Tarragona, you take on the role of a Tarragona warrior, a special type of being chosen by the goddess of light, Juanis, to prevent the evil dragon lord Jurden from resurrecting and destroying the world. I'm not sure how many of you guys know this, but I am a sucker for a good story in MMORPGs, so this naturally sounded right up my alley. Graphically, Tarragona looks great. Nothing like a AAA title MMORPG, sure, or anything coming out in 2017, but the game looks good, especially considering when it was released. Character models in Tarragona were actually really surprising. Although we didn't get much in the way of character customization, the character models themselves looked fantastic along with their bodies. Combat in Tarragona is traditional tab target, however it doesn't really feel slow or clunky like in some MMORPGs, which is always a bonus. So why do I think Tarragona should be listed here? It's an MMORPG that looks great, it's an MMORPG that plays great, it has an actual story for those of us interested in that, and it's fun. We have played too many boring free-to-play MMORPGs not to enjoy something like this. This is one of the more unique MMORPGs I've had the pleasure of playing. Granado Espada, or Sword of the New World depending on where you're from, takes place in the New World. You take on the role of a family of pioneers traveling from the old world eager to explore the new world and eliminate anything that may threaten the peace and survival of your people. Again, character creation is pretty basic. You're given a few hairstyles and faces to choose from, and that's pretty much it. However, each class does get their own unique hairstyles and face options, so the diversity is there. Graphically, Granado Espada is one of my favorite styles to see in games. It reminds me so much of Final Fantasy XII, one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. It's just, in my opinion, so damn beautiful. There's nothing fantasy about the look of the game, it's all based off of a real time period, and it is one of my favorite time periods as well. One of the main selling points for me though is the combat. It's a very strange kind of combat, one that I haven't really seen replicated in an MMORPG before. It isn't traditional tab target. I mean, you have to click on a monster to attack, but you're given the option of choosing where your attacks go as well. Adding on to that is the fact that you're given control of 3 different separate characters, each being completely different classes if you want, each with their own unique skills, their own weapons, and their own unique fighting styles. This makes for probably one of the most uniquely entertaining combat systems that I've ever had the pleasure of playing through. Now, why is Granado Espada listed here? I mean, it's beautiful, the combat's just so interesting that I couldn't really stop thinking of all the different ways I could change my party composition up. Another unique MMORPG, Requiem Memento Mori or Requiem Bloody Mare, is an older, stranger MMORPG. Requiem is probably the only horror MMORPG that I've ever played. It's set in a world that was destroyed by a battle between magic and science, requiring the player to attempt to safeguard humanity in its hour of rebirth. Surprisingly, Requiem gives players the ability to create a fairly unique looking character, giving you a fairly good amount of options to choose from in terms of distinguishing yourselves from the thousands of other players. Graphically, Requiem absolutely nails the horror theme. The game world is fantastic. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's filled with disgusting looking disfigured hulking masses of ass juice ready to just smash your face in. Thankfully, regardless of what class you choose, you do possess the ability to explode, dismember, decapitate, melt, propel into the air. I mean, literally fuck up those baddies. And the blood and the guts, it just goes everywhere. You see limbs flying, you see heads rolling. It is a beautiful display. Unfortunately though, the combat in Requiem is somewhat slow, traditional tab targets, so that may be a problem for some people, but seeing what you could do to monsters was just so entertaining. Now, why is Requiem on this list? It is one of the darkest, goriest, most disgusting MMORPGs that I've ever had the pleasure of enjoying. Wait, I can feel your eyes rolling into the back of your head at the mere mention of this, so please let me put your mind at ease by saying that this isn't in the list because of all the boobs. It's only partially due to that. I mean, you can't fault me, especially when MMORPGs like Blade and Soul, Black Desert Online, and Revelation Online just throw that shit in your face, and they're all popular enough. On the surface, Scarlet Blade is just your average MMORPG with tons of boobs and revealing outfits, but underneath, the game is actually a lot of fun to play. The game is mostly tab target, but it also has some instances of action combat thrown in as well, with regards to mainly AoEs, I guess. Graphically, Scarlet Blade looks fantastic, although the character models and body proportions can be a little jarring at times, I guess. The world is also large and full of quests, which takes away from the long, boring grind that some MMORPGs enjoy forcing you into. So, why is Scarlet Blade in this list? I mean, it's one of the most adult MMORPGs out there. It offers some of the most unique, revealing sets of clothing, full-on nudity for those of you interested in that, fun combat, and a very active PvP scene. Mabinogi has held on to its small player base for a while now. Unfortunately, it hasn't really had any growth in quite a few years and likely won't have any additional growth into the future either. Especially with Period Chronicles threatening to steal what little population remains. Mabinogi is one of the few free-to-play anime-inspired MMORPGs with any kind of population left though. Like, if you're looking for an anime MMORPG, then this is pretty much the only MMORPG worth playing. The game still looks great as far as anime MMORPGs go. The game is literally filled with more content and more features than you're probably ever gonna need or likely ever experience. Unfortunately though, the combat is incredibly slow, and some might even go as far as calling it tedious. Nevertheless, Mabinogi isn't about combat so much as it is everything else. It gives you one of the largest senses of freedom in an MMORPG, some claiming it's a second life of sorts. That is of course why Mabinogi is in this list. Unfortunately, another MMORPG that ended up dying. Although that was pretty much due to pay-to-win bullshit that plagues so many free-to-play MMORPGs. Dragon Nest offers some of the best action combat on the market, along with some of the most entertaining dungeons I've been able to play through. Graphics are also pretty good for the style, definitely a little stranger than I'm used to, but definitely not in a bad way. The world is also instant, sending you into dungeons similar to Vindictus and having you complete missions to progress through the game. This may be a problem for some people that enjoy more open worlds and areas. The main selling point for Dragon Nest, though, is its PvP, which is still active even though the population has dwindled down so much. So, why is Dragon Nest on this list? It offers some of the most entertaining PvP in action MMORPGs while offering fantastic combat and fun dungeons to explore. Probably one of the largest dead MMORPGs available right now. Wildstar has a very small population these days. I won't really go into detail as to why other than mistakes were made, and the game as it stands right now is actually worth investing time into if you're interested. Wildstar offers some of the quirkiest characters I've ever seen in an MMORPG since World of Warcraft, or more recently Final Fantasy XIV, adding life into what is normally a desolate world. Which isn't to say that this isn't the case with most free-to-play MMORPGs. In fact, most free-to-play MMORPGs worlds are actually beyond dead. Wildstar does an amazing job of capturing the cartoony feel that World of Warcraft went for and successfully ended up creating a large world that's an absolute blast to explore. Combat in Wildstar is some of the most entertaining I've ever played. It's action combat, one of the combat types most MMORPGs these days are trying to pull off. So why is Wildstar on this list? It's one of the only MMORPGs on this list that's of this quality. Combat, story, graphics, everything about Wildstar is top tier for a free-to-play title. The only other free-to-play MMORPG with a quality higher than traditional free-to-play titles. Age of Conan is a very brutal, adult-themed action MMORPG with a large emphasis on story, which is, once again, right up my alley. The game is set in the same world as the Conan novels and movies, and features a large cast of very scantily clad barbarians, male and women both, running around bashing each other's heads in. Which is perfect for me, since that's exactly what I want out of an MMORPG. Combat in Age of Conan is action-based, not fast action combat like Wildstar or Black Desert or Blade and Soul though. It's much slower and much more realistic. Which I guess you could say about the entire game if I were to be completely honest with you. The MMORPG itself is a very slow, very mature MMORPG that younger folk may, in light of this, not really enjoy. Graphically though, the game does look good, the character models are good, and the scenery looks fantastic. I would like to give kudos to the character creation as well, which is really well done, if not a little irritating with how often your character moves your damn head around. Which, granted, is more of a personal problem, I will admit. So, why is Age of Conan on this list? It's a very mature adult MMORPG that isn't actually lighthearted. It's got good paced action combat, it's got a detailed world, and it's got a ton of voice acting. The recipe for a great MMORPG. Another action MMORPG to add to this list, I'm honestly not sure if that's a good or bad thing at this point though. Regardless, Kritika Online is a very attractive looking MMORPG, featuring some very pleasant character models, although strangely not a very detailed character creator. I mean, that's fine though, as the characters themselves look fantastic, and so do the animations. Graphically, the game looks pretty good. I mean, it feels similar to Blade and Soul, while still feeling different enough to not write it off as a clone. The combat in Kritika Online is incredibly fun though, reminding me of a cross between Blade and Soul and Vindictus. It's fast and very fun, although I've only tried out melee, so I can't really say for non-melee classes. Finally, the game, similar to Soulworker or Vindictus, is instant, meaning that unfortunately there's no open world. That is a shame, honestly, as this game would have been amazing had it been open world. Why is Kritika Online in this list though? It has some of the best action combat in a free-to-play MMORPG, and it looks amazing. It also plays wonderfully. I had an absolute blast playing it, and I look forward to when En Masse Entertainment releases it in the West soon. So that's pretty much it for my list of the best free-to-play MMORPGs that nobody actually plays. I've enjoyed these games quite a bit, and honestly wish they weren't near dead, but what can you do? If you play any of these MMORPGs or want to in the future, just go ahead and jump in. If you know of an MMORPG that's dying but still pretty amazing, let me know in the comment section below. I will try it out. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to sub, stay updated with other videos like this one. Thank you all for watching. I honestly couldn't do this without you guys. See you next time.